Good morning, everybody. I am Fran Gibson, president of the Rossmoor Emergency Preparedness Organization. We're celebrating our 30th year here in Rossmoor as a resident volunteer group whose core mission is readying our neighbors to get themselves and their households fully prepared for a major disaster emergency that strikes Rossmoor or beyond. And I think, bar none, we serve the very best core mission in all Rossmoor. I'd like to ask our ACE high-tech coordinator, Harris Greenberg, to go over some of the rules for Zoom so that this meeting is productive for all our attendees and for our panelists. Harris?
Thank you, Fran. As those of you who have attended these meetings before know, we get a very large group, close to 100 or more. And so we ask all the attendees to keep their microphones muted. We mute them automatically when they do come in initially. And we ask the presenters to mute their microphones when they're not talking, so that background noises from ringing phones and barking dogs don't interrupt the presentation and switch focus away from the presenter. You can participate by putting any questions you have or any comments in the chat control in Zoom. And Nancy Herney will be watching the chat and consolidating the questions and grouping them because there are generally a lot of repeats, and direct those to the appropriate panelist. Live transcripts have been enabled for the hearing impaired. And they will appear as subtitles. They can be moved around if they're blocking part of your screen, and they will show up in whatever language your computer is set to work with. And the meeting is being recorded, and a copy of the video, including the closed captions in English and subtitles in about 15 other languages, will be available when we post the YouTube video of the meeting on the Rossmoor EPO website at rossmoorepo.org. And that's basically the ground rules. Fran, back to you.
Thank you, Harris. This is my third and last year serving as your president. I have loved the role very much, but I have a contract now to finish a memoir. Per our bylaws, I will serve as your past president through 2023, and with our board's approval, we'll continue some of our operations unless someone steps forward to run for president. Unfortunately, no one has done that as yet. I'm certainly hoping that does not remain the case. It's been an enriching honor for me to serve as president. Edmund Hillary was one of two men who topped Mount Everest for the first time in human history. He returned to Nepal after his 1953 triumph to help the Sherpa community build schools, hospitals, and bridges for Nepal's Sherpa community. I like his quote at the end of his long life, quote, "I came for the mountain, but I stayed for the people." And it reverberates for me as I leave EPO's leadership. I came for the mountain for me is our core mission, but I stayed for the people, our exceptional operations team leaders, our EPO family, our neighborhood team leaders, community residents, partners, stakeholders inside and outside Rossmoor. It's been a great honor for me to have any impact on the well-being and safety of our community, and I thank our membership for this rare and deeply rewarding privilege. If you're interested in serving as president or learning more about the role, please do not hesitate to contact me. And please know you would have my full support going forward as our 2023 president. We have a wonderful speaker this morning, Mark Benthien, and he's going to tell us all about all things earthquake. We will have a poll at the beginning of his presentation. This poll, I want to remind everybody, is anonymous. So please give us your honest answers to these 4 questions. It will help EPO in the future as we plan and shape our emergency messaging around our #1 natural hazard that we face here in Rossmoor, which are earthquakes. So please feel free to give us your honest opinion. This year's International ShakeOut is Thursday, October 20th. And one of the first things I did when I became president was to sign us up for the Great California Shakeout, and Mark will have more to say about that. Rossmoor EPO and CERT will award a prize to the neighborhood team that does the best job with their drill. So please plan a drill if you can. You can do shakeout drill any day, anytime. A lot of people worldwide will be doing it Thursday, October 20th at 10:20 in the morning. And just send me your pictures and your description of your drill, and EPO and CERT will be happy, as we do annually, to give you an award for winning it. Want to remind everybody that together, coming up on the fall and the winter, we're going to still face flu and COVID breakthrough cases. They're known as the twindemic. Unfortunately, in Rossmoor, we will not have Kaiser or John Muir clinics as we have had in the past for these vaccines. CDC encourages you to be to know that you can get both the flu and the bivalent third booster simultaneously. You don't have to take them apart from each other, but we will have to go outside to get those. So please get your booster, get that immunity range increased as we go into winter. Harris, I want to punt to you on the boots on the ground update project that you are so leading so well.
Thank you, Fran. We've got a large database of EPO membership, but unfortunately, a very large section of that is a couple of years old. And with our aging community, there's a significant turnover of people aging out of being able to take the extra responsibility to be part of the EPO entry and street coordinators and keeping track and informing their neighbors. And so we've actually gone through, verified, validated only 27% of the total number of people in the organization. We do have another chunk, a little more than half of the people on our membership list. We do have some kind of information, either a phone number or an email, and we can verify some of that with a follow-up phone calls or emails, but there's also a significant chunk where we don't have any data on entries, and we need to put some boots on the ground, have people go out to those streets and entries and knock on doors and find out who's available to participate as an EPO coordinator and help their neighbors, and also identify for those people if there are other people who have disabilities or issues where they specifically need help to evacuate or get to a doctor or whatever. And that's another part of EPO's exercise. So we've got a couple of volunteers so far, but it really is going to take a significant number of people working on this committee to expand the coverage and make sure that every place in Rossmoor has representatives to watch out for our fragile population. And that's it on that, Fran. Thank you.
Thank you, Harris, and thank you for the great job you're doing all along on the update project. Now to dues and donations. We have our dues for EPO are a measly $5 a year. We have many members who have not paid dues in the last 2 or 3 years due to the fact that we're not meeting in person. EPO has to milk $1 out of every dime you contribute through your dues to meet the annual expenses for our champion website and our other operations. Please consider making donations to EPO as upcoming holiday gifts for family members and friends. Like I said earlier, we serve the best core mission in all Rossmoor. Go to our homepage at www.rossmoorepo.org. Click on the blue button. There you will find contact information for our awesome treasurer, EPO treasurer, Mary Spear. And she can check our records and she'll let you know how much in dues you owe. This money is absolutely essential for us to keep, particularly our website going. Our November 7th meeting is going to be on challenges we face as EPO entry and street coordinators and local neighborhood team members. So bring your emergency preparedness challenges and let's solve them together. This will be our last meeting for 2022, and it will be my last meeting as EPO president. I announced before, but want to announce again that EPO has been chosen as a permanent site for a practicum utilizing graduate students in public health at UC Berkeley. Our first practicum involves soliciting a graduate student team to help us with our website to ensure we're targeting the very best practices, emergency messaging, that will warrant the greatest safety and resiliency EPO can help provide to our vulnerable senior committee. I am thrilled, and we will have this new rich resource available to us every year. Nancy, Herney, will you update us on CERT activities and announcements, please?
I will. Thanks, Fran. Rossmoor area CERT is continuing to work with the city of Walnut Creek. Some specific things that we're working on is continuing the process of introducing new CERT training, initial training, as well as doing implementation and train the trainers for a new communication system called WinLink. All CERT areas, all 8 CERT areas are going to be practicing using WinLink on the Great Shakeout Day, October 20th. So that will be a good opportunity to see how all of that works. I'm sad to say that Marcia McLean is going to be stepping down as the area coordinator for Rossmoor at the end of this year. There are going to be some other changes as well. So we'll be talking about those at future meetings. Speaking of which, our next meeting is going to be on October 24th with a training on MedOps, head to toe evaluation. And on November 28th, our comms group is going to be giving us an overview of WinLink. That's all I have. Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you for all you do for both EPO and CERT. I'd like to introduce 3 of our panelists this morning. Tom Cashion is the Golden Rain Foundation's Public Safety Manager. He's in his 2nd year as our champion Public Safety Manager. Served for 24 years with the Walnut Creek Police Department as Lieutenant and Area 1 Zone Commander for Rossmoor and downtown Walnut Creek. Tom is grounded, tireless, goal-oriented, and strategic, and his visionary public safety innovations will mark his accomplishments to date for many years to come. I'm reminded of an anonymous quote that fits Tom perfectly. Every job, quote, every job is a self-portrait of the person who does it. And Tom, quote, you autograph all your work with excellence. Welcome, Tom. I'd also like to welcome and introduce Mark Benthien. Mark is the Director of Communications, Education, and Outreach at the Southern California Earthquake Center, housed at the University of Southern California. He's also the Global Coordinator of the Great Shakeout Earthquake Drill, which is, of course, worldwide. He serves also as Executive Director of the Earthquake Country Alliance, and his was the first stakeholder group I registered Rossmoor EPO with when I became president close to 3 years ago. Mark holds a 1995 Bachelor of Science degree in geophysics from UCLA and a 2005 Master's in Public Policy from USC. He's known for his evidence-based policy initiatives in earthquake safety. He's a passionate vanguard leader who was recognized by the White House as a champion of change for advancing earthquake and tsunami education and safety worldwide. One of his many accomplishments is his expanding the annual Shakeout earthquake drill both nationally and globally. Earthquakes are Rossmoor's highest natural hazard risk, described in Golden Rain Foundation's 2020 Emergency Operations Plan, followed by wildfires, medium risk, landslides, medium, severe weather events, medium, and flooding, low. Walnut Creek can trace 6 active and potentially active faults. Our city has suffered close to 4,400 earthquakes since 1931, when records were first taken, with the highest magnitude being a 6.0 Temblor in 2014. California ranks as the 2nd highest state for earthquakes in the United States after Alaska. And FEMA's average annual economic losses from United States earthquakes is $6 billion, and $3.7 billion of that belongs to loss of capital assets and infrastructure in California alone. Women, seniors, and single people and people with physical disabilities present an elevated risk of death 1 year following any major earthquake. Mark will tutor us in the noted modern best practices of earthquake preparation and dropping, covering, and holding on, regardless of where you find yourself and regardless of any mobility or disability challenge you face. I want to welcome you, Mark. This is great to have you here today. Colene Reams-Trinterude is our Northern California Red Cross Blood Program lead. She's the past president of EPO. She now leads our co-sponsored Golden Ring Foundation, Rossmoor EPO, and Northern Red Cross quarterly blood drive clinics in Rossmoor, making it very easy for you as a member of our community, a resident, to donate life-saving blood. Welcome, Colene. Colene, I'll go to you for your report on upcoming blood drives.
Thanks, Fran, and good morning, everyone. In respect for our speaker today and the importance of his presentation on the earthquake readiness we need for our Rossmoorians, my report today is very short. October 21st is our next blood drive coming up. There's 33 of 44 spaces that have already been filled up, and so there's 9 places left. 5 of those are power reds, but we will fill in with regular blood donations if we don't have the power reds in those spaces. Now, for appointments in January 20th of 2023, the website is now open, and it's pretty much all open. We do have the rest of the appointments for the other quarters for 2023, but they're not up on the site yet. So please go sign in for the January 20th site, the regular ways, and it says on the information sheet that Harris has up. I also wanted to let you know that right now it's very important. The Red Cross is really on the ground in Florida and they need help. So please donate. If you just put into your computer www.redcross.org, it's going to come up Hurricane Ian disaster relief donations. So please, if you can, help them, because when it comes to our turn, we're going to need help too. So, and if you need any help on the websites or anything else, please give me a call, and my web information, all that information is on the EPO site. Thank you.
Thank you, Colene, and thank you for the marvelous work you do, literally life-saving work that you do. Tom Cashion, our public safety manager. Tom, may we have your public safety report?
Yeah, thank you, Fran, and good morning, everybody. One thing I wanted to share with you today, I'm short as well with my presentation. So this thing is what I'm really excited about. I haven't been working on it just by myself. Fran with EPO has been helping me, Marcia with CERT. There's even some Red Cross stuff in here as well, but it's right here. It's the Rossmoor Residents Guide to Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuations. It's a booklet, and it's kind of like the Bible, I would call it. A lot of information and helping you educate yourself about what to do in case there is an ever wildfire event that is threatening our area. But it also just gives you some really good information to look through and be aware of, like where resources are, setting up a go bag, putting together a plan so you have a plan before you're ever even threatened. So some really good stuff. It's kind of like the compilation of a lot of things we talk about in our EPO meetings. And so this way you can have it at your fingertips. My hope is to hopefully finish this within the next couple of weeks and get it in through the Rossmoor News. It'll end up in as an insert in the Rossmoor News at your doorsteps. If for some reason we're not able to get it out this year, it will go out spring of next year. So look forward to you guys seeing this and having this in your hands. And that's all I have, Fran.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for the privilege of offering feedback to a wonderful document that's going to be very helpful here. The number one concern, perhaps not our number one hazard, but our number one concern in the community, of course, is wildfires. So it's an excellent document, and Tom is doing a great job. Let's start the polls now, Harris, before Mark starts. Or Mark, no, we were going to have you say a few introductory words, and then we'll run 4 questions. Please, attendees, answer them honestly so we can get a feeling of where the community is. Thank you, Mark, and welcome.
Thank you, Fran, and just great to be with you all and to hear all of the great work and partnership and coordination that happens in your community and the leaders that you have, and such a great turnout today. You know, as we do this poll and we get into the presentation, as you all, I think, understand, it's not just you who are here, it's all the people that you can take this information and share with who are kind of virtually here, but up to you whether they get the information. So do take notes. I'll be putting links in the chat as we go. Of course, it's going to be recorded, but I look forward to sharing what the information that we have with you very shortly here.
Okay, so I'm going to launch the poll now for everybody. This is a completely anonymous poll. We're just looking for statistics, and there's just 4 simple questions on it, and we'll give you a minute or two to fill in, and we'll stop it when we look like we have enough statistics going. So here we go. So the poll has been launched, and the 4 questions are here for you. Basically, you know, we're looking for an idea whether you've prepared and secured different cabinets and pictures and other items that could potentially fall in an earthquake on you, create broken glass around your house to avoid stepping on. And the questions whether you've evaluated what you might do and how you might stay safe in the different parts of your house. Again, looking at whether you're planning to participate in the ShakeOut, and whether anybody has signed up on that. And at this point, about 60% of the people in the meeting have responded to the poll. And it's looking like 40% of the people have secured the loose objects, and 60% haven't done anything yet. Evaluating how you could protect yourself in the various rooms of your house. We're doing a little better there. It's now 60-40, yes, no. Whether you've downloaded the MyShake app to get an early warning. Again, that's reversed again. Only 38 versus 62% have done that. Not many, only a handful of respondents have already registered for the ShakeOut. So glad to see we have some, but we could use a lot more people getting involved and actually practicing what you need to do. It's one thing to talk about it and think about it. It's something totally different to actually get involved and do it. Get that muscle memory so that you can react quickly in an event and not just have to rely on pulling out the paperwork and reading over the steps to protect yourself. And with that, I'm going to end the poll. I think we've got a sense of what's going on. So I'm sharing the results on the screen now. And I guess I shared them verbally already. So I'm going to stop sharing it. And I'm going to end the poll. So with that, I guess we're ready for Mark to start his presentation.
Thank you, Harris.
Go
One
ahead.
thing I'll add on the result for the ShakeOut registration is I know that as a community, Rossmoor is registered to participate. And so, which is great. And that kind of might cover your participation. However, if you register by yourself as an individual or family or any organization you're part of, you'll get information from us directly. Some email kind of newsletters coming up with information and guidance for earthquake safety. So, and you'll be kind of individually connected. So we'll come back to that. But that's something you could even do right now. Go to shakeout.org and even during the meeting, put the link in the chat, you can register. So, okay, well, let's get started. We are framing this around the ShakeOut coming up on October 20th. You have, as was said earlier, the ability to have your drill on any day of the year, of course. And, but I want to start kind of at the global level and talk about why earthquakes happen and then come down to why they happen in your community. So if we look at a map of the earth and where earthquakes occur, we can see that they're not just randomly all over the surface. They line up along these bands and cluster in various areas. And if we look at the crust of the earth and the plates that comprise the crust. Now, when we say crust, what this means is if you think of like an apple or an egg and the thickness of the skin or the shell, that's how thin the crust of the earth is on top of what's underneath. And that crust is broken into these large plates which move side by side, as is happening in California. They're pushing into each other, as happens kind of in the Himalayas. They spread apart, as happens in the mid-ocean ridges, where they're spreading apart and new lands being formed as magma rises up in between. And there's places where a plate will dive beneath another, such as in South America, the northernmost California, Oregon, and Washington, Alaska, Japan, and elsewhere. And that's where you can have some of the largest earthquakes in the world based on just the dynamics there. But here in California, we are on the plate boundary between the Pacific plate and the North American plate. Now, interestingly, I'm down here in Los Angeles. I'm on the Pacific plate. I'm on the west side of the San Andreas Fault. You are on the North American plate. You are on the east side of the San Andreas Fault, which is the primary plate boundary. And what's interesting about that is that the Pacific plate is moving relative to the North American plate. They kind of move past each other, but Pacific plate's moving to the northwest, or moving it, going down eventually under Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, and moving up that way. And so, but it's very slow. It's every 150 years or so, there's an earthquake where the fault moves maybe 20 feet. So we're talking millions of years, but in millions of years, the 6-hour drive between us right now might be an hour, depending on what the traffic is like millions of years from now. Hopefully it won't be as bad, right? So that's eventually happening. We're not falling into the ocean. We're sliding off the coast, and we'll become a big island from Baja, California, all the way up to just south of San Francisco on the peninsula at Daly City is where the fault goes offshore and then kind of comes back onshore, very just along the edge of Marin County. You can see it here, the fault coming up the peninsula. Here's San Francisco. Here are you all over here. And then the fault continues up to Northern California. This is showing the different faults in the Bay Area that can have a magnitude 7, actually 6.7 or greater earthquakes, this particular probabilities. And there are, while these are showing probabilities of a 6.7, like for example, on the HayWierd fault, 27%. On other faults east of there, much lower percentage probability. The San Andreas, 21%. This is for a 6.7. We can, of course, have larger earthquakes in the Bay Area as well. And because the HayWierd fault has the highest probability, it was chosen for a study by the U.S. Geological Survey that became known as the HayWired scenario. And lots of detailed analysis for what will happen in this earthquake, what type of earthquake, what the ground shake will be, what the liquefaction and landsliding results might be, how that will affect our infrastructure and just many different aspects. There's a website that you can get all that information from. There was an earthquake about this size back in 1868. And that, of course, had far less damage and injury and such that would happen now just by the difference in population. But I'm going to show and what we're seeing here is what's called the shake map, the scenario shake map for this earthquake. And if you see there's a black line, that's the segment of the faults that is going to rupture, where there's going to be side-to-side motion. It does go a little bit further down, so it's not the entire fault. And the star right here near Oakland is the point on the surface of the earth where the earthquake, above where the earthquake starts. And that's called the epicenter. And in this case, the earthquake ruptures in both directions along the fault from that epicenter. So it ruptures to the north and to the south. And you have a pattern of rupture that isn't just like a simple bullseye around the epicenter, but it's really stretched out because of the length of the fault. It turns out that to have a larger earthquake, you need a longer fault in California. It's related to the amount of surface area on the fault that ruptures. And fortunately, our faults only can rupture down to about 20 miles deep before it becomes ductile and kind of just oozes rather than breaks. And so to have a bigger earthquake, you need more area. That means you have to go longer. And in fact, to go from a 7.0 to a 7.2 on this fault is unlikely, because you'd have to double the length of the fault to go just 0.2 up on the Richter scale. And that's why the largest earthquakes we can have in California are really only on the San Andreas or other very long faults that can have large earthquakes. But the analysis was done on what's a likely earthquake that would affect the Bay Area as a whole, that would be, really cause significant losses, so that we can understand and better take action now to reduce those potential losses. I'm going to show a film that really describes all of this, and try to move to the next slide, and then we'll come back and continue.
The HayWierd Fault, one of the most urbanized and dangerous faults in the United States. Millions of people live, work, and travel near the fault each day. There's a large earthquake on the HayWierd Fault about every 100 to 220 years. The last one was 150 years ago. It's coming, and when the HayWierd Fault ruptures, the roads, the pipes, the wires, the things that connect everyone to people and places will go haywire. The USGS and its partners have created a comprehensive, detailed analysis based on the latest science, a scenario depicting what might happen in a magnitude 7.0 earthquake on the HayWierd Fault before it happens. This gives us a chance to envision our vulnerabilities and a chance to prepare. This new scenario is set on April 18th, 2018, the anniversary of the 1906 Great San Francisco earthquake and fire. The following scenario explores the possibility of a HayWierd Fault earthquake. It is not a prediction, and a real earthquake on the HayWierd Fault could occur at any time and may behave quite differently. April 18th, 2018, 4:18 p.m. The earthquake begins. With an epicenter at Oakland, the rupture races 52 miles along the fault towards Fremont and Richmond at speeds of 7,000 miles per hour. In Berkeley and HayWierd, the ground shifts 3 to 5 feet, ripping through buried pipes and wires. The USGS shake map shows areas of violent and extreme shaking, lasting up to 30 seconds or longer, causing very heavy damage. Away from the epicenter, a warning arrives up to 25 seconds before strong shaking begins. Impacts and destruction are magnified by a cascade of hazards. In the HayWired scenario, 800 people die and 18,000 more are injured. 2,500 people need to be rescued from collapsed buildings, while another 22,000 are trapped in elevators. In this scenario, 77,000 to 152,000 households could be displaced. Some East Bay residents lose water for 6 weeks and up to 6 months in the worst-hit areas. Lack of firefighting water could turn some of the more than 400 fires into conflagrations, burning the equivalent of 52,000 single-family homes. Who has power, water, gas, and communications? Every lifeline is disrupted to some extent. This could be the first major U.S. earthquake in the age of the internet. What happens in a disconnected world? Dozens of significant aftershocks and fault afterslip will cause additional costly damage, requiring repeated inspections and repairs. Property damage and direct business losses exceed $82 billion, mostly due to shaking, but also to liquefaction and landslides. Fires could cause hundreds more fatalities and an additional $30 billion damage, and would extend the duration of disruption. Few things are insured. How many people will move away? What will such a disaster mean to you, your family, and your community? Acting now can save lives and jobs, businesses, neighborhoods, and homes. The Bay Area has invested over $50 billion since the 1989 Loma Prieta quake, strengthening potential points of failure, infrastructure, and buildings. But these efforts need to continue and expand through your engagement. Use the HayWired scenario. Doing so will reveal actions that will lessen business disruption and improve our ability to bounce back. More actions like these will reduce risk, and creation of the HayWired scenario offers you an opportunity to do your part. Partners are continuing to come together to share interdependencies, resources, and solutions. Use the science. Come together. Because together we can outsmart disaster.
Okay. I don't know about all of you. And watching that video, which I've seen before, I'm really struck by some key similarities to what we're seeing in Florida right now. And like Florida, there are people who are most affected, and then there are a lot of people who are in maybe more on surrounding areas that didn't have, their homes completely lost, but they're dealing with still significant issues. And because of the proximity to that whole area, their lives are changed forever too, even if they could still stay in their home. And so all of the different factors that kind of build together, the ability to provide water and power and services and just everything, the ability for goods and services to be transported across the region and get to where you are, that's going to be impacted. And the key aspect is a lot of this can be prevented. A lot of what we just saw is in a very large earthquake that may not happen for quite a long time. There's a chance that it might be a smaller earthquake on the fault. It might happen a bit differently. It might not rupture starting in Oakland and spreading both ways. It might rupture from the very south to the north, and there's different factors of what might happen in the actual earthquake that happens, but likely the impacts will be similar. So of course, by preparing, we can be more ready for when the utilities won't work for some extended period of time, when you may not be able to get around in the same way that you're used to, when the resources and places that you go aren't available, or closed temporarily, or perhaps even permanently. And getting information will be very difficult in the ways that you normally get that information. So it's really a matter of what we all can do, what you're already all are doing in your community, and kind of what happens now before the earthquake, what you're able to do during to protect yourselves on your own, but then to come together right afterwards and help each other. And it's really something we all have to come together. Now, years ago, we created a group called the Earthquake Country Alliance, and actually in Southern California, started it back in 2003. And we created the first ShakeOut in Southern California in 2008. And that went statewide along with Earthquake Country Alliance in 2009. So this is the 15th year of ShakeOut, and next year, the 20th year of ECA. So we partnered up with groups in the Bay Area, Central Coast, Redwood Coast, and help other counties too. But we basically have created a lot of resources and programs and materials. We have regional meetings. Our next one in the Bay Area is going to be coming up in November at San Francisco Airport in the airplane museum they have there. It's really nice. And we get support from FEMA and Cal OES, and we're headquartered at the USC Southern California Earthquake Center, which is an earthquake science research center that I coordinate education and outreach activities for. And while our name says Southern, we work together with scientists and support research statewide. In fact, by next year, our name is going to still be SCEC, but we're going to be Statewide California Earthquake Center in our new iteration. And you can join us. I encourage all of you to join us here at earthquakecountry.org/join. Now, we also have support from a national program, both for the ECA in California, and ShakeOut supports our coordination of ShakeOut both in California and all the other states and territories. So our website at earthquakecountry.org is where you'll find most of the information I'm sharing today. We do have a sister website at terremotos.org with information in Spanish. We support tsunami preparedness activities, which you all don't have to worry about there. However, right where you live, at least. But if you go to the shore or the beach, you want to know what to do, and should know what to do during an earthquake, right, that you feel at the shore, because it might have been offshore. You want to quickly move to high ground, or do so if you get an official alert from a tsunami coming across the ocean. That's all I'm going to say about tsunami. But if anybody has questions, you can put that in the chat. Of course, created and managed ShakeOut. And we have a variety of activities and events and webinars on different topics on our calendar. So we do have Bay Area activities I mentioned coming up. If you join ECA, you'll get the email about our next workshop. It's going to be on November 30th at SFO. And we're going to have an activity there called Plan Your Resilientville, and it's a really great group activity where you take a map of a fictional area and you kind of coordinate what you would do. And maybe it's the type of activities you've already done there in Rossmoor, but you might want to have a group come and participate in that game and then bring that back to your community. We are having a big media event for ShakeOut in Oakland at the Fruitville Transit Center this year. I mentioned the HayWired scenario. I talked about that. We also are creating an exercise toolkit for planning how, especially for businesses or organizations, for how to deal with how to have different tabletop discussions on different aspects that come out of that scenario. We do have a request form for speakers and event tables. That's how you got me today, through earthquakecountry.org/events. And I wanted to mention that we have a partnership with the city of San Francisco for the NeighborFest block party concept that we're looking to expand across the state. And that's something we might be able to work with you to bring to Rossmoor. Really fun kind of block party activity that includes preparedness information. All of our guidance is organized around the 7 steps to earthquake safety, which I'm going to step through as we go through this presentation. And it's what to do before, during, and after to be safe. Be safe before and be ready to be safe during, and take safe actions, not only during the shaking, but during the period right afterwards where there's still dangers present, and then how to recover. And of course, you can find all of this information on our website, details and guidance and resources for each of the 7 steps. We also have translated a lot of our guidance into 15 different languages. And so if you have people in the community or others that you know and who speak other languages that you want to provide information in their language, you can find this in terms of earthquake safety, the 7 steps, resources for ShakeOut there at earthquakecountry.org/languages. And we even have a page for each language so that you'll be able to just give them a link in their language. So I'm going to begin with the 7 steps here. And step 1 is what we call secure your space. And this was one of the poll questions. It's the importance of identifying items that might fall or fly. And when I say fly, like literally be thrown across the room at you by the strength of the earthquake. And then secure those items so they won't fall or fly, but so they won't hit you, they won't hit others, they won't break, and they won't block your exit or the entrance from someone trying to come in and help you. And just kind of key example is what you do to secure furniture. You don't use a metal L bracket. If you have one of those, encourage replacing that with what's available now. It's like a flexible strap that bolts into the wood studs in your wall, but then sticks to the top of your furniture. Does not harm the furniture, and can be, it's usually there's either a Velcro part or a strap or a buckle that you can undo if you need to move the furniture for cleaning or to find something that got behind it. But these types of products are available at home improvement stores, on Amazon, and other places online. TVs are perhaps one of the biggest issues now as they become wider and thinner and more easy to fall over, just, if you bump into it accidentally. So there's straps that you can use and get to secure those properly too. You want to secure if the TV onto its where it sits, and then if the thing that it's sitting on is more than like 3 feet tall, you should secure that to the wall too. Or you can mount the TV directly onto your wall with kind of commercially available mounting plates. That's actually really the most ideal situation. It won't go anywhere. So the key aspect though is you can get started right now. If you look around you and there's something heavy up above you or close enough that if it were to fall in an earthquake and hit you, you would not be happy. So you can move that to somewhere else. Often things get put up high to maybe avoid, young people or pets, getting things, but move it low or some other place so it won't hit you. That's a free step you can take. Then you can make a list of what else needs to get secured and do it over time. This is a great way to help each other. If you don't have the right tools, help others, or they can help you. And then also let people know that you've done this. Show them what you've done. That is what motivates people to then do it themselves. Okay, step 2, we call plan to be safe. This is where most emergency planning kind of gets started, or supplies. We put step 1, the secure your space step, first, because for an earthquake, that really is the critical thing. If you've gotten hit by something and severely injured or worse, these other steps aren't really going to be as much of a factor. So preventing that damage and injury is super important. But planning what you're going to do when the earthquake happens or other disaster is really key. And this is pretty common across not just earthquakes, but it really apply to any disaster. You want to have a plan with those you live with, or any others that you spend a lot of time with, that you might be together with or need to coordinate with during or after the disaster. Want to know how you're going to communicate with them. Are you going to have what type of communication plans? And the phone lines likely will be down. Your cell phone may work for a moment until everybody starts trying to call each other. And you shouldn't do that. You should text, and then make sure everybody you're going to text knows how to text back, that you're really able to communicate that way. Something like 200 text messages is the same as like 20 seconds of a phone call in terms of the bandwidth on the system. So texting is better if it can work. It may be that that either so many people are trying to communicate that it's overwhelming the system, or the cell towers are down, but that's your first bet. And only try to call if you really have an emergency. Most of the local phone lines will be allocated to emergency responders who have been previously designated as a phone that is for emergency purposes. You may be able to make an out-of-state phone call to another area before you can make a local call. That's why you want to have a contact that those that you want to coordinate with can all reach out to and let them know your status. You can find out, also important to know, like what the hazards you're going to deal with in any particular emergency that might happen. And the state of California has a tool at myhazards.caloes.ca.gov, which I put in the chat, where you can type in your address and it will show you where your nearest faults are, if you're in a liquefaction or landslide area or tsunami area, which you're not, you can find other people that you're interested in and what that you might be concerned about, and see what hazards they have. So that just gives you information about what you might need to deal with. In the film, it was mentioned how there can be these huge fires that spread and become conflagrations. You're not going to put those out with a fire extinguisher, and unfortunately, if that happens, those are going to be fires that are going to require far more fire departments and their equipment and their engines and such that exist. So it's going to we want to prevent small fires from growing into big fires. And one way you can do that is have a fire extinguisher and know how to use it, and maybe have multiple ones so that you're able to get them where the fire is, and maybe able to bring them to help others. But we're not talking about putting out your house with a fire extinguisher, but whatever might get started in your kitchen or elsewhere to put out, because the fire department's not going to be there in time. That's a general aspect. We know that they're going to be dealing with so many different things that a local issue that they may not know about yet, or may not be as dangerous as what they're dealing with, is not going to get the high priority. This is also a really good time to have preparedness networks like you have, and have different trainings. And it's like I mentioned, the NeighborFest program and others that you can be a part of. So we recommend this everywhere, that you have some sort of community emergency response team program, or map your neighborhood, or another coordination. And it's just great. That's what you are having this call today, and all the other work that you do. Step 3 is to organize your disaster supplies. And for most disasters, it's very common what you're going to have. There's one aspect that, before I get to that, we at earthquakecountry.org/step 3, we have a chart you can download that will help you kind of choose where you want to have different items. And you don't have to fill out the entire chart and have everything in every location, but you can choose what makes most sense for you. And we're talking about, you have your go bag, what you might have at home, or maybe in a workplace or the place you spend time or in your car, but also the idea of the under bed bag. And this is a less known option, but really important for earthquakes. So the general idea that at minimum, you want to have shoes and a flashlight in a closed bag, like a drawstring bag or backpack or something, or even a plastic bag. Grocery bag is fine, attached to each bed. So take some old shoes, take a flashlight, take some batteries, maybe not even put the batteries in the flashlight, but these kind of newer small flashlights should last a long time with the batteries. The purpose here is that, in an earthquake, especially if it happens at night, power's going to go out. You're not going to be able to see where your shoes are. You don't want to be reaching around for them on the floor. There might be broken glass, and you might put your hand into broken glass. You want to be able to find both your shoes and the flashlight to be able to move around. And by having them in a drawstring bag or something, you know exactly where they're going to be, because everything's going to have moved around in the shaking. And if you wear glasses, if you put glasses on a nightstand, they're going to have flown away. So you want to have glasses in that bag as well. And then you might also have some other items like gloves or even a small crowbar. It's possible that your door might have jammed to get out of your room. Even a hard hat and a whistle for if you need help. Now, why it's important to just not have like your shoes under your bag, your under your bed, because your bed might have moved around, your shoes might have too, but also if there's broken glass has been thrown around the room, it might have gotten in your shoes. And if you put your shoes on and step up, then you might be putting your feet down into broken glass that you didn't notice at first. And that has happened. So that's what under bed bag is all about. And you could do this today. Get some old shoes, get a flashlight, old pair of glasses, readers, whatever you might need, and these other objects, and just tie it to your bed. And you will be happy when the earthquake happens to have done so. Okay. And then step 4 is what you kind of think about in terms of financial aspects of an earthquake and how you can minimize hardship. And one of the easiest ways is to start by organizing your financial information. And FEMA has this nifty first aid kit that you can download and fill out. But you can also just use it as guidance. You can save information in the cloud, and you can save it on just on paper. You can save it on one of the USB drives and have it in your go bag. You can, but it's your insurance information, your medical information, and kind of all that you're going to need if you can't get back in your home and you don't have access to any of that. And maybe it's on your phone. You have a certain amount of information on your phone, but then the power's out and you can't charge your phone. So it's really to help you begin your recovery quickly. And so that's one aspect. That's kind of like the one aspect that you can help to quickly begin your financial recovery and other aspects. You may also look to see if your building needs retrofitting. There's different types of buildings that were built long ago that are not up to current building standards. Building codes have improved over the years, and homes that have a crawl space beneath them can be retrofitted. Other building types of retrofitting are possible. In fact, there's funding available from the state, and the application period's opening up on October 18th through the Earthquake Brace and Bolt program. And if you don't have this type of home in your community, you may know family or friends who do, where you have to walk up a couple steps to get up to their front door. And likely it's this type of house. Let them know about this retrofit incentive program. They can get about $3,000 to do that retrofitting. There's other building types that are soon going to have incentives too, that you can find out at strengthenmyhouse.com, like units over garages, and units on houses on hillsides, etc. And then finally, you can also look at earthquake insurance. And California Earthquake Authority is one of the providers, a major provider of earthquake insurance through most homeowners insurance companies. Your homeowners insurance, of course, does not cover anything to do with earthquakes. But you can buy additional insurance. You can buy condo insurance. You can buy renters insurance. And what's nice is that there's this calculator that's you can slide things around and you can adjust the cost of your insurance versus the benefits that you'll receive. You can kind of very customize it to your own needs, including if you have a collectible, like a set of collectibles that you want to have more insurance for, you can do that. You can really customize that. Okay, so now that's all what you do before the earthquake, hopefully. Now we talk about what to do during an earthquake. And if you have any questions, by the way, and you want to put them in the chat, I'll be looking at that and I can kind of respond as I go. So just encourage that too. So generally, you may have heard about drop, cover, and hold on. You'll notice I've kind of modified the slide title to include the word lock there. That's for people who are in a wheelchair or other device that can be locked so that it doesn't move, or power turned off, or various ways that happens. And this is all about protecting yourself from those falling or flying objects, and even from the more rare chance of your building having more serious damage. And this is really a strong consensus has been developed for many years, including from our urban search and rescue firefighters who are rescuing people from buildings here in the US and around the world, that this is what this and the other guidance I'm about to share with you is recommended. It's not only preventing from the falling or flying objects, it's also going to prevent you from being thrown to the ground. You know, falling to the ground is not something that any of us want to do on a given day, and being thrown to the ground and is a whole other story too, or into objects. That's possible as well if you're trying to move around during a large earthquake. So I want to mention, of course, that we do have guidance to adapt to your situation. This is the lock, cover, hold on, and other accessibility guidance that you can use, or that you can review, not only for mobility disabilities, but for other access and functional needs and other disabilities, kind of what to do during earthquakes. But the kind of general guidance, if you're able to get down on your own quickly, is to drop onto your hands and knees where you are. So we don't want you to run down the hallway somewhere where there's some more ideal location. We don't want you to run outside, and we don't want you to get in the doorway. Doorways should never have been suggested as a good option in an earthquake. Never. It was all based on misunderstanding and effectively some pictures of adobe buildings from the 1800s during big earthquakes, where some of the earlier photos in general, where the only part of the adobe building was the wood door, which was standing. And that began the myth that was somehow the strongest place to be and where you'll be safe. But you can imagine the whole house falls down, that doorway, and it's going to be going into the space of the doorway too. I mean, things are going to be coming all around. And that 4 or 5 inches is not protecting you from everything that's falling. And you may not be able to, more likely won't be able to hold yourself up in that space. And if there's more than 3 people, and there's only one door, you're going to be trying to find whoever gets there first, right? Is the kind of, but the thing is, it's just not really at all safer than getting under something to protect yourself from falling or flying objects, or even getting down and next to the wall so that things can be only coming from one direction. You're still blocking yourself then and exposed to less than you are if you're in a doorway. And after you're down, you want to immediately cover your head and neck with an arm and hand as much as possible. If you can see me, my elbow is as high up and my hand is back over my neck, and you're protecting yourself. And then if you are near a table or desk, something you can get under, you can crawl over that for additional shelter, or get next to something if possible. If nothing's around that you can get under, just use both hands, stay small, and you're protecting your vital organs that way from being injured by most items. And once you're under something, though, you want to hold on to it so that it will, if it starts to move in the shaking, you can slide around with it as much as possible, or perhaps if it's light enough, prevent it from moving. You can see the different situations being demonstrated here. Now, we do have some videos and animations that show what to do in different situations, including for users of mobility devices, but all the what to do if you're in bed, in the car. I'm going to show some of these. What we're looking at right now is what to do if a table is nearby or if there's not. So you're going to drop down, you're going to cover, you're going to look, oh, there's something I can get under, crawl underneath. In this bottom part, there was nothing. So she's just getting right up and next to that cabinet is really what was optional, but there's nothing right above her. And again, if ceiling tiles or other things might come down, might hit the cabinet there before it hits her, or at least will come in from one side only. And you can download these videos or watch them rather on our YouTube channel. I'm going to put the YouTube link in here too. So in addition to that, if you use a cane, one aspect of that is make sure you keep the cane kind of near you, as you may need to reach for that to help you get back up again. Again, if you can't get back up again on your own, don't go down in the first place. But if you're able to, as he is, drop cover, get under, cover your head and neck, and hold on to the table. If you're use a wheelchair, this kind of is started in the middle. Yep, you're going to lock your wheel, recognizing the earthquake. Lock your wheel, cover your head. If you have something like she's done that you can put over your head, you can hold on to it that way too. And maybe if someone uses a rollator type walker that has wheels, as she is doing, lock those wheels, and then either get down low, can sit on a chair. Some walkers like this have a chair you could sit on itself. The lower you can get, if you can get lower beneath the handles possible, ideal. She's also demonstrating that if you can't get your hands up and over your head and neck, just do as best you can. Protect your face, protect your head as best you can. Now, if you're in bed and you realize earthquake is happening, you want to stay in bed. Don't get out. Ideally, turn over, cover your head and neck with the pillow, hold on to that. And then we cut out kind of that she had the underbed bag so you can find the shoes and get moving. Okay, so when do you do all this? Of course, when you feel earthquake shaking. And we really do recommend that no matter what amount of earthquake shaking that you either drop, cover, hold on, or one of these actions, or be ready to. Because a sharp jolt might feel like a small earthquake, but might be an indication that the larger shaking is on its way. In most earthquakes, there's a sharp jolt and strong shaking, and when you're right next to the earthquake, it's all kind of at the same time. But if you're farther away, that sharp jolt will travels faster, and it might arrive at where you're at, and then not be until like 10 or 20 seconds later when the intense shaking gets to you. And the point is that that sharp jolt may be your warning signal that something else is coming. And so don't think like, oh, that was an earthquake and it's over. Either have gotten down because you felt that shaking, or do so then. It's always a good time to practice. Even if something doesn't happen. But it's better to be already under something and protecting yourself when the strong shaking arrives than to try to do it during the strong shaking. Now, wouldn't it be great if there was a way to get a warning signal because that earthquake was far enough away, and our sensors could have detected it and sent you a warning. And of course, we now have that. And so let's talk a little bit about what earthquake early warning is. So the US Geological Survey Shake Alert system is now in place across California, Oregon, and Washington. And there are sensors, a grid of sensors all over the states. And when an earthquake happens on a fault, the shaking begins to propagate. Now, this is very similar to when you snap your fingers. So when you push your fingers together, that's the pressure building on fault. When it finally slips, that's the fault moving. And the sound is the wave that comes from your finger to your ears, and you're hearing that sound. And so earthquake waves are like sound waves traveling through the earth. And the sensors to pick those up, they signal ahead to a center place like UC Berkeley, and the system says, okay, that is an earthquake. It's going to be of magnitude 5 or greater, and we're going to send out an alert to people who are going to experience at least moderate shaking in that earthquake. So notice I didn't mean to everyone. It doesn't go to everyone everywhere. It just goes to people that it anticipates really need the warning. And you might get a couple seconds of warning, you might get more, or you might be close enough to the earthquake where this figuring this out couldn't happen fast enough, and so you feel the earthquake before you even get the alert. But there are 3 ways now that you can get the alert for a larger earthquake, magnitude 5 or greater, and a higher intensity at your location. Those are 2 different factors. Magnitude is the overall how big the earthquake was everywhere, and intensity is like that shake map I showed earlier with the red and the yellow and the orange. That's kind of what the shaking is going to be like where you are. And of course, farther from the earthquake, the shaking is going to be less than right along the fault. And intensity 4 is not a very high intensity, but you're definitely going to feel shaking. Some minor things might start falling. So this is when you can get an alert similar to an Amber Alert, emergency alert, a weather alert on your phone. This will start to happen more frequently. But you can also, some Android phones have a system built in, or you can download the MyShake app made by UC Berkeley. And this is really the app that you should have for this. If you have other earthquake apps that tell you where the earthquake was, those are getting other information and it takes a couple of minutes to send out those information statements really about where the earthquake was, what the magnitude was. This is telling you as the waves are traveling towards you, hopefully in time before the earthquakes, before they arrive where you are, to drop, cover, and hold on. In fact, it's not going to tell you any detail. It's going to say earthquake, earthquake, drop, cover, hold on. But it's only going to be for an earthquake. With the app, you get a bit more warning, a smaller earthquake, and a little lower level of intensity. This is not an alert that you want to take time to figure out what to do or ask others, did you get this too? This is something we really need to deal with. Because then 2 seconds later, the earthquake arrives, right? So you want to really take this serious because it really could be a large earthquake and you want to act immediately. And you can get a lot of this information at an overview and kind of what to do at Earthquake Warning California. Put that link into the chat as well. Of course, another time where you can practice what to do during an earthquake is during an earthquake drill. So now we'll talk about ShakeOut. The little brand new little PSA for ShakeOut I'm going to play for you. And ShakeOut started in California. I mentioned spread statewide in 2009, and then really kind of by popular demand, other states and territories even of the US and other countries wanted to be involved. And so we now collectively span the entire country and even our territories, and across Canada, New Zealand and Japan have nationwide drills, and many other countries participate as well. And ShakeOut was designed from the start based on research that shows why people get motivated to prepare. And it's basic things like they get the information and they frequently, and they from trusted sources, and from neighbors and friends, and as well as authorities. And they see people like themselves taking action to get prepared, and they're having conversations with people about what to do to be prepared. That's why I said show people when you've secured furniture, or when you had your kits and other things together. Show people what you've done. It will motivate them. It will also, you'll be able to have conversations like, how much did it cost, and how did you do it, and can you help me? And so we really worked with ShakeOut to put all that together, and with the goal of really even shifting our culture about earthquakes and preparedness, really taking it on and realizing it's something important, and kind of maybe able to do things in new ways and fun ways. We want to increase earthquake resilience at all levels, from society down to our homes, and have conversations to do that, and support retrofitting of buildings that might be inconvenient for people for a while they're doing it, but important to do. And of course, give people a chance to practice earthquake safety overall. And so when you register with us, you'll even, it's kind of way of showing people participating. We even kind of break down, and we'll even list the organizations involved. So if you're interested in, is someone participating, you can go and look at the website, or you can make sure your organization is listed. So that you'll also get information from us, as I mentioned earlier. So if you register individually, you'll get the emails directly to you. So you can go to shakeout.org/register, and I encourage you to even do that right now. We still have a few weeks here, and I know that as a community, you have a lot of things planned. Just fantastic. We do on the website have a variety of resources of downloadable things you can print, like posters and graphics you can use in your presentations or in your emails, and drill manuals for different communities. We have something called ShakeOut Shop if you want to buy stickers and t-shirts and other items. And we do have drill leader presentations. So if you want to have a Zoom drill, you can do it with one of these PowerPoints, or use in person as well. So really do appreciate you all and what you have planned for ShakeOut, and what you may do individually as well as a community, and take it on as if this is our earthquake that's about to really happen, and practice all the factors. So what you'll do during, as well as what you're going to do afterwards. So after, but still during the danger period, we step 6, we call it improved safety. So things have fallen, things are broken, there might be injuries. So you're starting to, immediately you have to decide whether or not you may need to evacuate. And most of the times you won't need to, unless it's part of your plan to kind of meet in a common place and make sure everyone's okay. But if you really don't see any building damage, any cracks or shifting of things in your house, don't necessarily need to evacuate. Of course, we've been in many earthquakes where you haven't evacuated. Smaller earthquakes, even in a large earthquake, you may not need to, unless you start to notice some reason that you do. But it can be, if you leave the house, you may be hard to come back in if you are, or you may be in a worse situation depending on the weather, maybe. So one aspect that if someone, we do say that if you're near the coast and you feel an earthquake, the earthquake may have occurred offshore and generated a local tsunami. And so that's another time when you would definitely evacuate to high ground or inland. But yeah, start cleaning up the broken glass. If there's a gas leak, turn off your gas, other issues like that, put out the small fires. This is all kind of in the day of, maybe the next day you're dealing with this type of stuff. Finally, in the kind of days to weeks to months after the earthquake, what we call reconnect and restore, step 7. This has information about what to do if you need to go to a shelter, what you take with you, what type of financial resources might become available, how to access those. And so you can find that. And that's really step 7. And the recovery period may take years in the larger earthquakes for things to really be back. You imagine what's happened in Florida and how many years or longer it's going to take. And should it even return to how it was? And that will be a case in some places in California with the way you won't necessarily build the same type of buildings again or in the same locations. So, of course, as you already have been doing, start getting prepared, take action, share the information, actively participate in your group as you already are, your emergency preparedness group. And again, some of our links here. And as you can email me at benthien@usc.edu or through our general email inbox at earthquakecountry.org, which I'll also put in the chat. And I think we have, I see one question, but other questions now too. And I'll just ask the one question asked by Leslie Brett Casper. Is it safe to go under the bed or in the closet? We don't recommend getting under the bed unless it's a type that is a really strong frame and you're able to get underneath there. Generally, though, you're getting down into where the broken glass is. So staying, as long as you don't have things that are going to fall right on your bed and you can secure them so they won't or move them, staying in bed if you're already in bed is ideal. Going into a closet is not usually something that we recommend. But if there's no other way and there's depends on what's above you in there and what's in there that might fall and hurt you. Any other questions before I got a private question one about pets, but probably good to answer for everyone. What to do with them. They're going to likely put themselves under something before you can get them, just by their nature. But if not, bring them underneath the table or where you are together, kind of hold on to them. Don't go chasing them for that purpose. They'll be okay. Protect yourself. That's all the questions I see right now.
Thank you, Mark. That has been wonderful. If I could just augment a few of the wonderful things you had to say that are specific to Rossmoor.
Yes.
And I know we need to go quickly, so let me go down them very quickly. I really appreciate your emphasis on sharing our interdependencies with each other. I like to say often that when the big one comes, regardless of the form it comes, we are all in this together. Whether it's a wildfire, whether it's flooding, whether it's an earthquake. We need to help each other. Seniors suffer the greatest deaths and injuries in any disaster, whether it's natural or man-made. We need to remember that. So we are a vulnerable senior community by our age cohort alone. I want to encourage everybody within listening here to make sure you have at least 2 fire extinguishers for every manor in Rossmoor. One should be in your kitchen away from the source of heat and one near your master bedroom. Mark, I want to do a shout out for John Hammett, your amazing Earthquake Country Alliance Speakers Bureau co-chair. He was wonderful last year, and again, he's obviously been wonderful this year, bringing you forward as a resource for our community. I want to encourage people that an older pair of prescription glasses under or near your bed. Some of us, Mark, don't have beds we can put stuff under, but we can put it near our beds. An older prescription of glasses is better than no glasses at all. And I want to remind people that the earthquake warning system, the new national innovative earthquake warning system, ShakeOut, about 2 weeks ago, we had a Santa Rosa earthquake and at a 4.5 magnitude, and it gave 14 seconds of warning for a soccer game where the parents could get those kids and get them to safety. So I want everybody to download My Shake. I can't think of any better earthquake protection alert. We also would get alerts through our Rossmoor Nixle, through the city's alert system, Walnut Creek Alert, and through our wonderful county, Contra Costa County Community Warning System. And please don't evacuate from Rossmoor, attempt to evacuate from Rossmoor following an earthquake unless you get direct orders from civil authorities to do so. And then I had the wonderful honor of going to New Orleans after 3 weeks after Katrina hit, and to emphasize what Mark was saying about cash. I was in New Orleans and there was no way to draw any money from any ATM there for the 3 weeks I was there. So we tell people here in Rossmoor to have $300 to $500 per person per household in $1, $5, and $10 and small coins amounts, so that if we do go to a cash only economy, you're not giving over $100 bill for a gallon of milk if you can find it. I think that's it. Again, Mark, thank you very much. This has been great. Mark has given us a lot of great ideas. We can get going. His ShakeOut.org has wonderful drill preparation guidebooks for those of us who are doing drills in our neighborhoods with our neighbors on Great Shakeout Day, October 20th. So I want to thank everybody. This has been very helpful and an outstanding job by our earthquake titan, Mark Benthien. Thank you, Mark, and thank everybody for your.
Fran, I was going to share the screen with the contact information for everybody.
Yes,
and I think Nancy, did you have any other consolidated comments that you wanted to bring out?
No, there really hasn't been anything. I would encourage everyone, if you haven't, and you want to be able to get back in and look at any of the information about websites to go to, that you go to the chat and make a copy of the chat, because Mark was kind enough to put all that really valuable information right in there.
Ellen
And then, of course, the
Katsura has a
presentation.
question.
Yes.
It's not a question. It's actually, I was going to say that you should remind everybody how to save the chat. You don't take pictures of it. You have the ability to save the complete chat. In the lower right-hand corner, there's 3 dots. Click on that, and it says Save Chat, and it'll save it to your document folder. This is only for desktops.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, Fran, I guess ready for you're done with closing remarks already. So
I think that's it. What a wonderful meeting. Thank everybody for your time and consideration of this most important information. And let's get going, those of us who have not become fully prepared or can get more prepared. Take it one step at a time. Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful meeting.